to Guitar Books, the podcast. My name is Joe McMurray. Today I'm going to be discussing the Complete Country Blues Guitar Book by Stefan Grossman, published by Mel Bay Publications. Before I get into this book, I want to tell you about my book, Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar. It's available on my website at the link below in the show description. This book shows you how to take one simple melody and arrange it in hundreds of different ways, all within the umbrella of fingerstyle guitar. Also, if you haven't checked out my music, please check out Riding the Wave, my second fingerstyle guitar album. Also, I'm in the process of recording a third album. But yes, this album is available on all the streaming services. So, back to the Complete Country Blues Guitar Book. This is a wonderful book. I really enjoy it. This book is a repertoire book. It is full of blues, fingerstyle blues tunes, spanning from country blues to Delta blues and ragtime blues and Texas blues and bottleneck blues. This is a great book for late beginners who have a grasp of alternating bass, Travis style picking with a simple melody on top. There are some songs in each section that would be suitable for late beginners. But for intermediate players and advanced players, there's like 100 songs in here. It's almost 260 pages long. It is full of repertoire that spans from easy to more difficult. But aside from the repertoire that's in this book also has some really cool historical information and interviews and historical photographs. You could almost just leave it on your coffee table. It's a really interesting book to read in your spare time when you're not actually playing the guitar. So the book is organized very well. It's organized into sections, starting with country blues with an alternating bass, and then there's country blues in open tunings, then Delta blues, ragtime blues, Texas blues with a monotonic bass, and bottleneck blues. So each section starts with information about that regional substyle of the blues, and it tells you about some of the important players of that style. And then before each tune in that section, there's some information about the history of that tune and who played it, which recordings to listen to, like famous old recordings. And then there's some technical information, like maybe things about fretting, hand, fingering, that sort of thing. It's important to know that most of the tunes in this book are very short. They're usually just one time through the form of the song. So, in a typical 12-bar blues, that's 12 bars. Well, that means that the song might actually be 20-30 seconds long. So if you actually take the time and listen to the recordings that are recommended, or if you just know about blues in general, you'll know that you typically play through the form many times. You might play through the main form once with the main melody, and then there might be improvisation, there might be vocals. This book doesn't really get into talking about vocals, but if you listen to fingerstyle blues, it's obviously an important part of the tradition. If you actually want to get the most out of this book, you'll want to learn a tune and then create variations to make a song that could last a couple minutes in an actual performance situation. The book provides the music in treble clef and tablature. The tablature is kind of unusual. It is not your typical tablature that you see where the fret numbers are written on the lines. Like if here's the line representing your 6th string, and the number might be written on the actual line. Here in this book, they're actually written between the lines. You can look at it. It's definitely a little unusual, but it's really not that bad. I've read some reviews of people complaining about this. It took me a few minutes to get used to it, but it's almost exactly the same, just the numbers are shifted a little bit. So just be aware that that is a thing, and be aware that you will get used to it. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a repertoire book. It is full of songs. It is not a method book. It doesn't teach you the fundamentals of how to play fingerstyle blues guitar. If you are looking for that, you might want to check out something like Alfred's Beginning Fingerstyle Guitar, or the Hal Leonard Fingerstyle Guitar Method, or the Chad Atkins Method. There's a bunch of great method books that teach you how to play from step one. So this book doesn't give you that. It shows you tunes, and it makes for a great supplement to a method book or your lessons. If you are a performer, this is a great place to come and get some new tunes to add to your repertoire. Just remember, you're going to have to create some variations because they're really short. So now I'm going to give you a quick recap of 8 things about this book before I actually grab my guitar and play some songs in here to show you what you're getting into. So the first thing is that this book does present you with authentic fingerstyle blues tunes from various substyles. It is organized very well. Third, it's got good difficulty graduation, so each section has an easier tune followed by generally progressively more difficult tunes. Not exactly, but it definitely starts with easier tunes. So if you're a beginner, you can just look at the first couple tunes of each section, at least starting out. Fourth, the tunes are short. Fifth, there is a lot of alternating bass and monotonic bass. Alternating bass, Travis style, moving your thumb, playing a bass line where you're alternating among the lower strings of the guitar. Monotonic bass, this is something you see a lot in Texas blues and also the Delta blues, where you're just playing the root of the chord or something like that with a quarter note rhythm, that sort of thing. Sixth, there is strange tablature, unusual tablature, but you will get used to it. Seventh, there are not fingerings for your right or left hands throughout the book. You might see a little of this information in the description before the tune, but it is not written in the music. It's kind of up to you to figure that out. Eighth, the last thing, there is no audio access specifically for this book, but every single tune gives you a listening recommendation of an important recording of that tune or a couple important recordings of that tune. And if you go and listen to them, you can get an idea of how the song is supposed to go and how to create a complete arrangement out of it. So I'm going to grab my guitar and I'm going to play through some of these tunes. So from the first section, this is country blues guitar with an alternating bass. This is a tune called Nobody's Dirty Business. This is on page 32. And I'm going to play a little turnaround to get into this. It's a fun one, and it's much easier than some of the other tunes. So in this same section, I'm going to jump over to one that's in the key of D major. This is called Blues Ain't Dry. It's on page 51. So in the key of D major, your root in standard tuning is going to be the open 4th string, D. But this tune and several of the tunes in this section, they actually use an alternating bass starting on the A string, the 5th string, so it's the 5th of the chord, D, E, F sharp, G, A. So you're going 5th, root, 5th, root. But this is a nice tune. It's a little slower. Here we go. Okay, so you might notice that I'm dressed a little different. My hair and my beard are a little different length. The sound might be slightly different, and the picture might have shifted a little bit. I actually recorded this episode a couple weeks ago before going on a big trip with my family, and when I started editing it, I found out that the audio just completely went out right where we stopped. So I am re-recording this, and I'm going to just continue where I left off. So next song in the book is Working on the New Railroad. This is on page 106. This is from the alternating bass in alternate tuning section. So this is in open G tuning. It's going to be D, G, D, G, B, D. So I'm going to go ahead and get tuned down. here we go. Alright, so that's a fun tune. It's not too hard. That open G tuning makes the guitar really resonate nicely. So we're going to keep going to the next section, which is the Delta Blues section. And before I get started on this, I need to tune back to standard tuning. So here we go. Alright, so the Delta Blues, you think of really famous players like Robert Johnson. So the New Pony Blues is the first tune in this section. It's in standard tuning. It's in the key of E major. It's basically a 12-bar blues, but I don't know if it's a typo or something, but it only stays on the 4 chord in measure 5 for 1 measure instead of 2, so it's an 11-bar blues. There's a little intro, but anyway, if you wanted to make it a regular 12-bar blues, you could just stay on the 4 chord for 2 bars and just play the same. You could just repeat that measure. Anyway, so here we go. 2, 3, 4. Alright, so it's a fun tune. Great blues in E. Alright, the next section is ragtime blues. This is a fun style that came from the Mississippi area as well as Memphis, Tennessee, Durham, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia. It involves an alternating bass. So the first song in this section is called Buck Dancer's Choice. It's a really fun tune, and I'll play it for you now. It's a really fun tune. Alright, the next section is Texas Blues. It's a really fun style that utilizes generally a monotonic bass where you're just staying on the root of the chord and plucking quarter notes. 2, 3, 4, that sort of thing. So the first song in this section is called Strange City Streets. It's just a great, straightforward 12-bar blues in A. Here we go. Alright, so another fun tune in the Texas blues style. Alright, so the next section is about bottleneck blues, and obviously this requires the use of a slide. It doesn't have to be a glass slide, it can be a brass slide, or it could be a lighter or a beer bottle, whatever. But I have my glass slide here. I am not a great slide player, but I learned a couple of these tunes, and I'm going to give it my best shot here. This is Wake Up Mama. This is on page 237. This is in open D tuning. So it's going to be D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. So let me tune down real quick. Okay, so it's tuned to an open D chord. It's really nice. So I'll grab my slide. This is Wake Up Mama. Right, so it's a fun tune. Maybe this book will inspire you to get more into slide playing. That's the last example I'll play from the book. Stefan Grossman's Complete Country Blues Guitar Book, published by Mel Bay. This is a great book if you want to get into fingerstyle blues playing and you need some repertoire. Definitely recommend it. Before I let you go, I want to remind you that I have published my own book. It's called Arranging for Fingerstyle Guitar. It's available through the link below in the show description. So this book shows you how to take one simple melody and arrange it in hundreds of different ways. First, we just arrange it in a simple melody and bass arrangement, then we add inner harmony, and then utilize alternating bass and arpeggiation. Then we get into things like harmonizing the melody in thirds, sixths, and tenths, utilizing natural and artificial harmonics. I show you how to transpose the melody to different keys, because sometimes a tune just sits better in a different key on the guitar. Then we get into alternate tunings, alternate time signatures, independent bass lines underneath the melody. And finally, one of the big things I get into is reharmonization. It's something that I really enjoy. Basically, you're just changing the chords that are underneath the melody. It can really give the tune a totally different feel. So if you're interested in the book, please check it out. Also check out Riding the Wave, my second fingerstyle guitar album. It's available on all of the streaming platforms. And also I'm working on my third fingerstyle album. Hopefully that'll be out in a few months or so. We'll see. I'm almost done with the recording part, and I've got to move on to mixing and mastering and album art and all of the fun publishing and copyright stuff. Alright, so thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you'll like this video and subscribe to my channel, and let me know if there are any books that you really want me to review, maybe something you've been looking at and you're just not ready to pull the trigger. So let me know through the comment section below or through my website. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.